Welcome to the Success Talk Show, the podcast for ambitious leaders who want to get their best results and create a workplace for their teams to thrive. Each week, we share practical advice to help you accelerate your success and grow as an inspiring leader. Now, here's your host, Leadership Success Coach, Donna Siriani.
Welcome to another episode of the Success Talk Show. This is Donna Siriani. In this episode, I'll share with you 5 specific strategies that you can use to increase your confidence and be seen as a confident leader. Now, there's 2 aspects of confidence that I'll be touching on. The first one is the feeling that comes from really appreciating your own abilities or qualities. And the second is that feeling of being certain about the truth of something. Okay, so confidence generally looks like this. You have faith in your strengths, you're able to take risks, meet new challenges, you have faith in your judgment, and you feel certain about the conclusions or decisions that you make. You're able to assert your point of view, and you know you can deliver. So if you're listening to this recording, it may be because you want to increase your confidence, right? So it's important to zero in on when you feel confident and when you don't, so that you can be more targeted to where you can make some improvements, all right? I've coached many people who this is their number one opportunities. They want to increase their confidence, but that's pretty broad, pretty general. So what I want to do is ask you a few questions, have you think about when you're most confident or least confident, because that will really help you zero in on specific situations or circumstances or subjects where that's where you really want to focus your confidence. So think about the specific circumstances when you're at your most confident, when you know you're making a meaningful contribution, you're having a big impact, you know where you're getting your best results, and you really feel certain that the choices you're making or the decisions you're making are the right ones. So make a note of when those are. Now, for you, depending on your role, it may be that when you're representing your team or your company with the client, you know your subject matter, you're giving presentations, whether it's in a sales or support capacity, or maybe it's product management or engineering, but you may feel really confident because you know your stuff. You know your product, your services, you know the technology, you know your area very, very well. Okay, so think about when you're at your most confident. Also, think about when you're at your least confident, when you're doing something that you're not very good at, or you're really not certain that the choices or decisions that you're making are the best ones or even the right ones. So you're thinking about sort of the best and the worst situations here, because these can be clues. They may point you to specific areas that you can work on. You may have confidence when you're representing your team to other groups or to the client or dealing with, like I said, products or services, but it could be that there's a specific type of situation where you're getting anxious, nervous, you're not really confident that you're doing the right thing, saying the right thing, you feel really nervous about your performance, you're not feeling like you're putting your best foot forward. So it's really helpful to get clear on what those situations are. Now, what I want to dive into are 5 specific strategies that you can use to strengthen your confidence and be seen as a confident leader. Because the first strategy is to get really clear about your strengths and weaknesses. You have to have this under your belt for any of the other strategies that I'm going to share with you to really work or be meaningful. Now, back in episode number 7 is an episode on emotional intelligence, what every leader must know. I talk about self-regard. Okay, so you may want to go back and listen to that. But here's what I want you to know. When you are doing specific activities that play to your strengths, you will feel confident because you know you're good at it. It comes naturally to you. It's something you maybe even really enjoy doing, okay? So when you're operating in that zone, you're going to feel your most confident and energized. So think about the opposite. Let's say you're spending 80% of your time doing things that don't play to your strengths. that you're not very good at, chances are you're going to feel frustrated, maybe apprehensive or nervous. This might be your Achilles heel, where now you're feeling like a fish out of water because you're really doing things that, it's just chipping away at your self-confidence because the results you're getting are not your best. You wish that you could be doing better. So it's extremely important. Strategy number 1, be really clear about what you're good at and what you're not good at. You've got to be crystal clear about this. And when I say that, I mean, which specific activities are you good at? These are things that other people may comment on, they come to you for help with, they give you feedback that tells you and reinforces that these are things you're good at. And again, I have some more tips back in episode 7. I'm not going to repeat them all here, but you want to get really clear on both your strengths and your weaknesses so that you can navigate choices where you're spending an increasing amount of time on what you're good at. So just want to share a quick story. I mean, through the years, I'm sure you have seen examples. I certainly have seen many examples of where somebody I knew in the office. Now I'm going to tell you a very quick story about one of my bosses. He was very smart, very accomplished in his role, but he got transferred to another organization as an executive to take over basically the function that I was in. And he went from being a very confident leader, very visible, giving presentations. You could tell he was really comfortable with what he was saying and proposing and his decisions and being a thought leader. But he switched to a division where he had a lot of self-doubt. He never seemed completely comfortable with what needed to be done. It was not his area of expertise. He really didn't consult with the people that worked directly for him and the organization as much as he could have. He seemed very self-conscious, like I said, a lot of self-doubt, and really seemed nervous a lot of the time. And, even though when he tried some collaboration, he just seemed always sort of nervous. He never really came across as a confident leader in that new role. Now, eventually, he ended up leaving the company and he didn't do very well in that new role. So all of the tips I'm going to share with you will just emphasize this story. First of all, be really clear about what you're good at and own it, right? So if you're really good at strategy, or you're really good at execution, or you're really good at relationships or influencing or, a piece of technology, completely own it. Don't try to be something that you're not, because then you will have that self-doubt. And when you're in those situations where you're trying to stretch yourself and do something you just don't have the talent for or the skills and the knowledge, if you don't have confidence, everybody around you will see it and you will not perform at your best. So strategy number 1, you really need to play to your strengths as much as you can. It doesn't mean you're not going to learn anything new, but I'm just saying this is your foundation for being a confident leader. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Strategy number 2 is to adopt the habit of reality testing. So when you're faced with a specific situation where you're not feeling very confident, ask yourself, how have I handled this in the past? How have I done in the past on this type of situation? Actually, I'm going to tell you, I have a client who originally said she wanted to gain more confidence when giving presentations. So an example of reality testing is I asked her, so let's look at your track record. How do you generally do with your presentations? On a scale of 1 to 10, how successful do you think you've been? And she admitted her presentations were generally very good and she received positive feedback. So the evidence would say she's pretty good. So why isn't she feeling more confident when her track record's very good? Well, as it turned out, it wasn't that she wasn't able to give an effective presentation. It was that she had a set of jitters, butterflies, dry mouth or whatever, but some jitters just before the presentation started. Now that's actually pretty common, but by sort of diagnosing and getting right down to the heart of the matter, then you can maybe research, all right, given my specific situation, when I'm feeling, lack of confidence, what exactly could I do in that situation? So now you've narrowed it down and given yourself something to focus on. Now in her situation, we discussed a couple of tactics and, she does view herself as more of an introvert. She's a subject matter expert, totally confident about the subject matter. It was those little bit of jitters before the presentation. So anyway, my point is, do some reality testing. Be sure to ask yourself, what data or evidence do I have that's telling me how I'm doing, if the choices I'm making are good ones, how you're doing, are you on track? Now, adopt the habit of reality testing. You can let negative self-talk derail you. The reality testing can allow you to focus on what is predictable based on your past performance. If you don't do that, that negative self-talk could spiral. Now you're not feeling confident. I might fail. I might stumble, make a fool of myself, take a risk, and be ridiculed, or your mind would just like run wild, right? So reality testing is important to see, all right, wait a minute. What am I basing this on? If every time I give a presentation, I get really good feedback, everybody says it was informative, I influenced the group, what am I worried about? And that can help build your confidence. Look at your successful track record. Okay, strategy number 3 is about emotional intelligence. Pick one out of the 15 possible emotional intelligence skills that will help you. So for you to be seen as a confident leader, you actually need to feel confident, right? And project confidence. And there's several emotional intelligence skills that could help you. And you need to pick one, because I really don't want to see you try and tackle it all at once and dilute your effort. Pick one. So for example, maybe it's managing stress. Maybe by you managing stress, it will allow you to appear more calm. Things are under control. You're not letting a negative situation impact your ability to make good choices. So managing stress could be what you choose. Or it could be that you want to be more self-aware of how you're letting your emotions show so that you could be more in control of how you come across to others. So in that case, maybe emotional self-awareness. Or maybe it is how you express yourself. You don't want to be in meetings and difficult situations, whether it's with clients or colleagues, and express yourself in a way that makes you appear to not have enough confidence. Again, you want to exude confidence. Maybe the skill is assertiveness. You want to advocate for your point of view. You need to be seen as an assertive, confident leader. So maybe that's something you might want to work on. So you get to decide of all the emotional intelligence skills, which one is the one that correlates to where you believe you might need to focus. Now, the reason I say one is, again, I wouldn't want you to dilute your progress. So if you pick one, deliberately work on that for a while, maybe 3 to 6 months. And then when you feel, let's say, for example, if you picked assertiveness, you know that you want your voice heard, you want to assert your point of view more consistently. Well, focus on that for 3 to 6 months. When you feel that you've really tackled it, you've made really substantial progress, then pick the next skill and go on to that. Don't try to do too many at once, okay? But all of those skills I just mentioned all contribute to you feeling more confident and projecting confidence. The 4th strategy is have a learning mindset, because as a leader, you don't need to know it all. You don't need to have all the answers or be good at everything. You have a unique set of talents, skills, and knowledge that you bring to your role. So if you can invest in learning, then you can allow yourself to be curious, ask tons of questions, do a lot of listening. Don't be afraid to try new things, right? Because when you catch yourself feeling a lack of confidence about something, and that's why I asked you a few minutes ago to really be aware, pinpoint when you feel confident and when you don't. Because those situations where you don't feel confident, that might be an important clue as to something you could learn more about. You could catch yourself. Like, for example, let's say you're in a situation where you're now feeling like your confidence is dwindling. Notice what the situation is. It could be that that is a clue that's either a topic or a situation you want to learn to deal with. Okay? So when you catch yourself in that moment, try to change your perspective to one of curiosity and learning. Ask a lot of questions. Don't put yourself on the defensive and come across like somebody who is nervous, defensive, closed-minded. Just try to embrace the situation, open up, see where the opportunity is to learn something new. Now that might be, I'm just going to stick with the example of giving presentations. You might need to start presenting to a higher level of client maybe somebody higher up in the client's organization, to your board of directors, to the executive team, you may see that that's something you need to invest some time and energy in. Strengthen those muscles. With steady practice, you will strengthen those muscles and then feel more confident when you give your presentations because you've put some time and effort into it. And also, by making it okay for everyone on your team to be striving to learn new things, you set a really strong example as a confident leader because you're embracing, a learning culture, making it okay for everybody, and you're showing them, you know what? We all have things to learn, to improve, to increase our performance and our contribution. Okay, because you show people that you're a confident leader when you can embrace learning. When you resist learning, taking risks, trying something new, again, you come across as afraid of failure, afraid of trying, afraid of consequences. This makes you look weak. So one of the biggest mistakes that I sometimes see with senior leaders is they're disengaged from the learning activities. Their attitude is, I don't need that. I had that course years ago. And it's really a missed opportunity to be engaged with their team and to serve as a good role model and share their expertise, their experience, and really be inspiring and be seen as a confident leader, right? So the last strategy I want to share with you, the fifth strategy, is to embrace feedback. This is so important for you to be seen as a confident leader. You need to be able, when someone's giving you feedback, you need to be able to make it comfortable for them. You want to be approachable, allow them to share their feedback, their ideas, their views, and it's okay. You don't have to agree with them. You may still assert your point of view, but you want to demonstrate that you're open-minded, you're listening, and you respect what they have to say. This is important, again, because if you demonstrate opposite behavior, being, like I said, closed-minded, defensive, and so on, don't give me feedback, I don't accept it well, that to me always shows that you don't have as much confidence as you could. Because if you were more confident, you could easily listen to the feedback, take it in, say, well, thank you for the feedback. Let me think about that. That would be the best way to handle it. Now, I want to refer you to an article on this particular subject. It's a fantastic Harvard Business Review article called The Culture of Candor. I highly recommend it. And what I want for you is, as a senior leader, that you are able to create that culture of candor. Again, this strategy is embrace feedback. So you know what? If somebody sees you heading for a cliff, or the organization heading for a cliff, they wouldn't hesitate to come and tell you and warn you because they're not afraid you're going to bite their head off. Because if you bite their head off, no one's going to come and tell you, and you're just going to head for a cliff. And at the end, you'll say, oh my God, I wish someone had told me. Well, if you don't accept the feedback, if it's too difficult and uncomfortable, people aren't going to tell you. So just to recap, these were 5 strategies for helping you to be a more confident leader. Number 1, know your strengths and weaknesses. Number 2, adopt the habit of reality testing, right? Look for that successful track record to reinforce that you should feel confident going into the situations where you know that you perform your best work. Number 3, practice improving your emotional intelligence skills. Pick one, focus on that for 3 to 6 months. Strategy number 4, have a learning mindset. And number 5, embrace feedback. You absolutely will create an organization with a greater acceptance and greater culture of candor when you can embrace feedback. So those are the 5 strategies. Hopefully that was helpful for you. So if you found this episode helpful, be sure to jump over to iTunes and subscribe to this podcast so you'll get the future weekly episodes, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like to get regular video tips on a weekly basis. Anyway, thank you for listening and have a great day.